Disability is a term that doesn't have a single meaning. I'd make the distinction between sort of everyday language use and sort of scholarly concept, and then like more legal or programmatic definitions. I read once that there's somewhere between 30 and 40 different legal definitions of disability just for federal programs. And you can understand the importance of having a concrete definition or criterion for establishing who is or who isn't eligible for benefits, or who's protected under some non-discrimination law. But that doesn't necessarily work well with everyday language. I like a definition that comes from a paper that was published quite a while ago by Lois Verbrugge and Alan Jetty that talks about disability is, quote, experienced difficulty doing everyday activities, or let's say activities that are important for one's age and sex group, is how I think they put it. But that tells you right off the bat that there's not one thing that is disability. Childhood disability emphasizes developmental problems and intellectual disability. Working age adults, it's problems with employment. And the Americans with Disability Act, ADA, of course, is very much aimed at that. My own work and interests are mainly late in life, and disability has a connotation of problems associated with daily tasks like feeding yourself, bathing yourself, dressing yourself, getting in and out of bed, sort of really basic personal care. A lot of it's hands-on things you need to do just to live your life. People talk about the distinction between aging with disability and aging into disability. So the aging with, of course, there's many ways you can find yourself on that path, but it includes congenital problems and work-related injuries. We're seeing a lot, of course, of combat-related disability associated with military service. Industrial accidents can leave people disabled basically permanently. So that's aging with. And aging into is probably what more people unconsciously have in mind when they're thinking about the older population, or people who were, quote, fine their whole lives. They were able to take care of themselves and meet their daily needs, and then through age-related disease or chronic conditions or just physiological change and loss acquired disability or problems late in life. And the real question is, as the people aging with disability become late life disabled people, how much different is their situation going to be from the people who aged into disability? And I don't think we know that yet. Someone with a spinal cord injury or some other long-lasting problem may be at greater risk of acquiring other conditions that are more typically associated with late life onset of disability. But I think the expectations and the sense of what constitutes success is really different from someone who spent their whole life figuring out how to be independent, take care of themselves, and then they reach a point late in life when the expectations from others around them or from programmatic point of view are very different. You know, it's one of loss as opposed to acquiring independence. Well, I think it's fair to say that the United States doesn't really have a long-term care policy. Certainly not a comprehensive one. It's the implicit part of our long-term care policy seems to be have your family member help you. And you can't write that into legislation, of course, that our policy is that you figure it out for yourself. But in effect, that's what happens, because among the population of older people who get help, and this includes people who are actually in nursing homes, if you take that group as a whole, the majority of the people are relying on family, friends, and neighbors to meet their needs. And that certainly is not an official policy. Now, we do have a caregiver support policy. It's not very heavily funded. It doesn't really do much. We couldn't really say that that's a comprehensive policy, but that's the closest we come to recognizing and doing something about the fact that most care is provided by family members. And if you go to the website of the National Family Caregiver Support Program, you'll see right there our goal is to help caregivers remain caregivers for as long as possible. And I find that phrase very telling, that our policy is to basically squeeze all we can out of the family. And you asked the question, where does the United States stand? Well, there's several countries of the world that actually have universal, comprehensive long-term care policies. Germany, Japan and Korea, and the Netherlands, I think, are the 4 cases. The Germany, Korea, Japan are the 3 I know about the best. And the important feature, or one of the important features of these countries' policies is that along with setting up a program, you have to figure out how to pay for it. And I think the how to pay for it part is a big barrier that we face in this country. Is new programs are going to require new funds. New funds probably require new taxes, and we seem to have trouble taxing people more heavily in this country.